A very good evening to all of us present over here. My name is Arjun Vajpai, and I am a professional mountaineer. This is what I do for a living. Though I do not know much about what you guys are discussing over here today, which is all the risk and all the attacks which happens. All of this was actually giving me almost a headache. I'm not much of a computer guy, but something very common between people like you and people like me is that is what I believe in, that we all have a mountain in our lives to conquer. It may not be a real one, but we all have this journey which we have to entail, and we all have to improvise. There are various challenges that we set out on. We dream too big at times, and then while we are daring to chase them down, we realize that we have to improvise, that what we thought of is just not enough for our dreams because the dreams are way too big. So when I was 15, I had a crazy, crazy dream. So I'm not going to try and today preach about what you guys do because I have no clue about what you guys do. But I definitely know about risk management. That is what I do on the mountain. My mother doesn't quite like it. My mother definitely tells me that, you know what, why do you even do this? So a kind of risk management I do before I leave for any expedition is I block YouTube on my mother's laptop. Because the lesser she sees, the lesser scared she's going to be. That's a very simple kind of risk management. But there are bigger risk management which we have to do on the mountain. So the kind of mountains which I like climbing in my life, like there's a little bit, like I think I'm a bit crazy. It's okay to say that. I take that as a compliment when people tell me that I'm crazy. So I definitely think that I'm a little bit crazy, and the kind of mountains which I like climbing are a lot above 8,000 meters. 8,000 meters is an altitude set by mountaineers. It's basically approximately 26,000 feet above the sea level. 26,000 feet above the sea level is approximately, when I'm saying 8,000 meters, so we're at sea level right now, 8 kilometers straight vertical up into the sky. What happens 8 kilometers up vertical into the sky? The oxygen levels are almost 1/3 of what you're breathing out here. Your brain cells are dying. Your stomach muscles are contracting. There's water seeping between your brain and your skull. There's water seeping into your lungs. You're broken down. Your body is burning almost 12,000 to 13,000 calories in a single day. The maximum which you can intake is almost about 2,000 to 2,000 calories, nothing much more than that. So now you're seeing the situation which we are in. And this is what I like doing. Like in these kind of situations, there is something which gets released from within me which makes me feel really extremely relaxed. My mother calls me a maniac for that. But there's something about these mountains which I absolutely love. In these moments of extreme dynamic environment, when everything seems to be going out of your control, you can prepare for 1,001 things on one expedition, and you will go back to the very same mountain again. Having learned from the previous year, you will go back, and this time again the mountain is going to throw you with 102 or 1,002 set of new challenges. Every time, your opponent is a step ahead of you. Why? Because we're fighting against nature. So we start our expeditions with having established that we can never conquer a mountain, but we can only climb them while they're looking the other side. So we make sure the margin of errors, knowing that the margin of errors are very low, the first most important aspect is being prepared. Calculating the amount of risk which you want to take. And are you prepared for this journey? So the first step which we do is we start preparing ourselves for this journey. In preparations, as an athlete, as a mountaineer, on the mountain I'm going to be required to be pushing my mountain to be pushing my body for about 20 hours, 24 hours at times. In extreme altitudes, if there's a rescue happening, if there's somebody stuck, maybe 36 hours. I will be also expected for 48 hours to keep moving without having put a single morsel of food inside my body, with probably a sticker bar or something. 2 liters of water which I can carry. So the input, the resources are very limited. With limited amount of resources, we have to exponentialize our output with very limited resources. So first mountain which I wanted to climb in my life when I was 15, I dreamt of climbing this mountain when I was 10. I ended up climbing this mountain when I was 16, was Mount Everest. I had this crazy, crazy dream when I was 10 years old, and I said to my mother that, Mom, I want to climb Everest. And my mother, I still clearly remember, she was in the kitchen, she turned around. I was 10 years old. She looked at me, she shrugged her shoulder, then she said, you know what, even I want to go to the moon. But the chances of me reaching the moon are actually much more quite higher than you actually reaching even the base of Mount Everest. And I was like, oh God, is it going to be that difficult? But I was really inspired. I had this fire in my belly. I had this desire from within. I had this longing from within me. I wanted to be at certain places. I wanted to feel this rush between my ears. I wanted to feel this heart-pounding feeling in my toes, in my extreme fingers. There's something which was about the mountain which kept calling me. The risk factor was just one of the many probabilities which I had to start taking care of. So when I went about climbing Mount Everest in 2010, on the 22nd of May 2010, at 6:18 a.m. India time, I realized that anything is possible. I was standing on 29,035 feet as a 16-year-old. Back in the day, there weren't as many youngsters who had actually even attempted climbing Mount Everest at that age. In 2010, we became the youngest person to have ever climbed Mount Everest in 2010, and that is what dreams are made out of. At 16, now you have a boy who thinks that his life is limitless. There is no limit to him. So now he's taking more risk. So this time he says, I'm going to go about climbing something even more difficult than this. So I train harder, I get back home. Each journey which I take, just to let you guys know, each 8,000-meter expedition which we guys climb is about 2 months long. It costs us about anywhere between 40 to 60 lakh rupees if it's a conventional mountain. Very often we do not finish the journey with the same amount of people who we start the journey with. And that is the price which we end up paying to practice our sport. The mountain never knows the difference between a small mistake and a big mistake. It treats you unbiasedly. Slightest of the slightest error, half of an inch ahead or back. You was sitting right next to this person and having dinner one the night before, and now you're pulling down his dead body from the mountain. You're probably going to call back home. You have to call back home, or you have to call back his family now and tell him, or tell them that, you know what, he's not going to be coming back home this time. Or you have to call back home to a 7-month pregnant wife and tell him that, boss, this is it. The mountain did not care. Or sometimes he did a mistake and he had to pay the price for it. Very important lesson which I learned from the mountains is decision-making and standing by them. So that's where the second stage comes in. Now that you have decided to go about climbing a mountain in your lives, and you know that the odds are against you, and you know that the margin of error is very, very, very low. You know that you're not going to survive. You know. So after being prepared for the challenge, for the risk which you're taking, you're going to take decisions and stand by them, take accountability of them. Because a lot is going to go wrong. Every time you go into uncharted terrains, like we use Google, so every time we are going into an uncharted terrain, you take guidance, right? So I think in your kind of business, the guidance is RSA. In our kind of business, we have the Sherpas on the mountain. Sherpas guide us through risk. What is okay, what is not. With their previous experience, with their previous history and stock of history of how much have they seen the mountain change? How much have they seen the weather change over the few years? So after climbing Everest, I said that I'm going to take on a bigger risk. I set my eyes on Mount Lhotse. Mount Lhotse is the world's 4th highest mountain. It's far more technically challenging than Mount Everest. And I said this to myself that I'm going to climb it in a year less than now. So exactly on the 21st of May 2011, I was standing on the world's 4th highest mountain, having climbed another peak, and now already setting my eyes on another mountain. So I've barely climbed down from this peak as of now. I'm the youngest person in the world to have climbed it, but it does not matter to me anymore. I just want to keep climbing. I want to keep taking bigger and bigger risk. I want to keep moving forward. So I kept taking bigger risk. I kept preparing myself. Preparedness was there. I was taking decisions. I was standing by them, even if they were wrong, even if they weren't going my way. I would stand by them, and I would keep progressing. I was failing, but I was failing forward. I kept moving forward, even in times of misery, even in times of complete pain. You talk to yourself on the mountain. Out here, I might sound like a madman, but we are on the mountain, above 8,000 meters, lost somewhere in the Himalayas, on the border of Nepal and Tibet somewhere, in complete isolation, where there's, for thousands and thousands of kilometers around you, you don't see a single soul. So you start talking to yourself from within. You try reaching down deep within yourself. There's no inspiration around you, right? It's all just vastless ice and snow, steep phases. So you start talking to yourself, and you say, okay, you've taken this one step. You've taken this step, so you can take the next step also. And obviously, while taking steps, there were various risks which were involved. Obviously, it's not like I'm taking steps here. So just to set you a perspective of one of the very commonly faced risk which we overcome. So every time I keep saying, I keep taking steps, you can see what kind of steps do we actually take on the mountain. Can we have the first video of the crevasses, please?
This is Arjun. I'm crossing a ladder between Camp 1 and Camp 2. Oh, shit. Oh, relieved. See this? Oh.
So obviously, I'm sure you guys take similar kind of risk in your lives, right? Where you can't like look anywhere else while you're going through this challenge, like out here. When you're going through each of these crevasses, you don't know where you're going to actually even fall if you fall. Some of them just go black after a certain point of time. There's this 12 inches wide ladder, 12 inches of difference between each step. Half of a step up and down, you lose your breath, you go down, right? And it's not that you can look up and walk. You got to make sure you're looking straight into the eyes of your challenge. You're staring deep into it, and you say it from yourself within. Can I do this? Obviously, you're uncertain. This is the point of uncertainty. So at this stage, at this uncertain point, there is no difference. Let me tell you guys, there's no difference between a person who is not courageous and courageous. The only difference is that they try and act courageous, and nobody else gets to know the difference. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is, even while going through this ladder, even I was scared, looking into this deep black void, knowing where you can end up, knowing that the mountain is not going to give you a second chance. You go through thousands of them while you're climbing a mountain like Everest or while you're climbing any 8,000-meter peak, and then you realize that all that you're hanging by is a single rope. The amount of risk involved in doing this over and over again, is obviously going to push you to a point where things start going not so well for you. So obviously, I pushed myself to an extent. I kept taking risk, bigger and bigger risk. Did not keep in check of all the various things which I had to. So we mountaineers have this really crazy thing about ourselves. Like, even if we play out a situation 1,000 times, and in that 1,000 times of that possibility, if success will only be attained, if it's coming out, if it's only going to be attained twice, even in a 1,000 time possibility, we think they are great odds. So we'll go ahead with a decision like this. That is the amount of precision, that is the amount of planning, that is the amount of ration distribution, that is the amount of manpower management, to that amount of perfection it has been managed, that mountaineers manage it on the mountain, where even if it's possible only once every 1,000 times, we think and we go ahead with that risk. Because the level of preparedness, a level of stocking, a level of manpower management is all up to a certain mark. So if you've prepared well, obviously, your calculated risk and your umbrella of calculated risk increases. This is what I have noticed on the mountains. So as I kept taking bigger and bigger risk, obviously I was growing. I was getting 18, I was getting stronger. My dreams were getting bigger. I wanted to challenge more and more difficult mountains. The fear of being complacent just didn't exist inside me. There was no boss over me. There was nobody who was pushing me from the behind to go out there every time, keep challenging myself. But as I said in the beginning, there was this fire within me. I wanted to be at places. There was this certain kind of hunger, this desire from within me of being on top of these mountains. There was a certain oneness which would come inside me within myself. I felt like I was doing justice to 15,000 years of agricultural evolution to the human beings. But regardless, so I kept taking bigger risk. I climbed another mountain the same season, the same year. I climbed Lhotse. Lhotse being the 4th highest mountain. I climbed the 8th highest mountain also in the world in less than 6 months of time. I climbed Mount Manaslu, became the youngest climber to have climbed that mountain. And now I feel like I'm the emperor of this world, right? So with constant success, if you keep moving forward, if you take big risk, and if you're moving forward, that's the point in time when you have to take the most attention. You have to be very, very, very careful. Because what happened next with me left me almost at a stage in life where the journey out of it was very difficult. I don't know if all of us can truly reach down so much within ourselves that much, but I was truly blessed to have a lot of good friends around me to help me come out of this journey. So in 2012, the time when Arjun, has climbed all the mountains. I dreamed of a mountain and I went about climbing it. There was no mountain in this world which I would dream of and I couldn't do it. So my head was in the sky. I was taking big risk and I was successful at them. What happens when you're taking big risk and you're successful? You forget the attention to detail. Small aspects, small leakages. The same thing which was taught to me in mountaineering back in 2008 when I was training for a basic mountaineering course. $1 million worth expeditions. Expeditions with cumulative figures go up to $1 million every 3 months. So if an 8-member expedition has to go on a mountain, you're spending almost about $1 million for a 2-month-long manpower expedition. And all to just realize by the end of the expedition, the last 2 days of the expedition, while you're making the final summit assault, that your expedition was failed due to one missing matchbox. Can you imagine now a whole expedition, 2 months of efforts, risking lives, people having died, the whole journey, you have to return sometimes because of a single matchbox. So can you imagine the amount of risk which are involved over there? As basic as drinking water. As basic as drinking water cannot be obtained over there. So what you have to do is you have to melt ice, and there are various resource management which you have to do to a point of so much detail that if you miss out on any small one of them across the whole process, you can literally go back at the top of a mountain while you're returning after that 2-month-long journey, and you can look back 6 months before where that mistake exactly happened. So that is the level of planning and precision we have to work with on a mountain in order for it to be successful, not only just successful, for us to come back with the same amount of people which we went with, leave alone success for once. So in 2012, I was climbing a mountain. I got a little bit more ambitious. I took a far more bigger risk in my life. I said, I'm going to climb 2 8,000-meter mountains in 1 season. In less than 2 months, I'm going to climb 2 8,000-meter peaks. And I'm all of 19. Like, you got to realize, the kind of mountains which I climb, all my friends are probably 5 years older than everybody who's sitting over here. All of you guys. I've spent most of my life celebrating, all my friends are 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. So the kind of mountains which I like climbing are all done by 50, 55-year-olds, the ruthless, hardcore mountaineers from the French Alps, Swiss Alps. They spent a lot of time, Russians, Kazakh, probably double my size. I'm not a very conventional-looking mountaineer. I'm an Indian guy who's 5'9". I weigh 66 kgs. My backpack weighs at times 40 kilos. So the odds are already against me. And now I'm taking this risk of getting and going about climbing 2 of the world's highest mountains, which is Cho Oyu and Shishapangma. Cho Oyu is the 6th highest mountain in the world. Shishapangma is the 14th highest mountain in the world. So I have this crazy dream that I want to be the youngest person to have climbed all the 14. There are only 14 mountains in this world which go above the altitude of 8,000 meters. So all of these random names which I keep taking of mountains, they're all in these 14 mountains. There are only 32 people in the whole world who have ever been able to climb these mountains, dead or alive. Alive, I think there are less than 15 today. There's no Indian who's ever been able to do so. So that's my mission which I'm working on. Regardless of that, so all of these names, now you know, all of these Cho Oyu, Shishapangma, Makalu, all of this what you've heard, these are all about the 14 8,000-meter mountains. So I decide now in the spring of 2012 that I want to climb 2 8,000-meter peaks in 1 season, one behind the other, 19, right? So according to mountaineers, I'm not even born as of now. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm in completely uncharted territory. If things start going south, nobody's going to help me. People have already told me that you're way too young to be on an 8,000-meter peak. People have already warned me of the risk. People have already told me that we will not risk our lives to help you because you're not supposed to be here. Simple. So in my head, while I was even preparing for this journey, I prepared with utmost precision, but obviously, success had gone to my head. attention to detail was lost, precision was lost, and at Camp 3, somewhere down the line, on the 8th of May 2012, I remember, we were at Camp 3 of this mountain at 24,000 feet, stuck by bad weather. We were pinned down, and for the next 3 days, the weather does not open up. On the 4th morning, when I wake up inside my tent, we've already lost our oxygen supplies. My Sherpa along with me starting to get a headache. There were 2 Sherpas with me. Sherpas are people, just in case you're wondering, Sherpas are people, a special tribe, which are born at a certain altitude and they live in the mountains. They're very familiar with the mountains. They have previous climbing experience of that mountain, so they're like a guide, so will tell you the way. There were 2 more Sherpas along with me, and I'm in this tent, deep inside Tibet. No helicopters can fly. And I woke up on the 4th day, and I realized something is wrong with my body, right? Like I was drooling from the left side of my face. So obviously I'm like, yeah, I sleep on my stomach. So I was like, I must have slept on my stomach, and there's no sensation in my left hand. So for a moment I turn around and I'm like, okay, like it'll come back. It should come back. Doesn't. So I'm starting to panic, right? The oxygen level is already very low. Your body is already under like attack. Slightest bit of an up and down with your physical self, you know, even if the smallest ankle twist happens at this altitude, nobody's going to carry you down. You're going to be left to die. If you can't get back to base camp, if you cannot walk back home all the way, if somewhere down the journey, all that you prepared for falters in any way, your body, your resources, your manpower, anybody falters, they will be left behind. So at this stage, I'm starting to panic inside the tent. At 24,000 feet, I'm panicking, I'm getting rattled. And then I realize that there's something wrong, right? I can't move my left leg as well. I'm like, what's happening? So I woke up my Sherpa, I nudged him, he's sleeping right next to me. He woke up, he's looking at my face, and he's like, dude, like, there's something absolutely wrong with you. We soon realized that the complete left side of my body had got into paralysis. At 24,000 feet on the border of Tibet and Nepal, somewhere deep, really deep, like I cannot even explain how deep. Now, China being China, they don't allow helicopters in there, right? So even if I can call back home, there is no way that there's a rescue helicopter coming now to pick me up. Time is running out. There are 2 more lives with me. I've been in this situation before. Time is running out. Decisions need to be taken. We've got to save the most amount of people and leave behind the people who cannot make their way down. The more amount of hours they spend up there in lesser oxygen levels, without the use of supplementary oxygen above a certain altitude, the lesser chances they have of coming back home safely. And it's a tough call to take. Because they have met your family, you met their children, you met their wives. Right? What are they going to say? That I just left him? So it's all of this is going on, and at that point, your survival instinct is kicking. You're like, I don't want to die. I'm 19. Like, I still want to see the world, right? Like, did I dream too big? Or did I risk it too much? What should I do? How should I move forward now? Or what is the situation? Like, how should I come out of this? Like, there was nothing which was coming in my head at that point of time. There was absolutely nothing. Like, in my life, I've been a national level taekwondo player. I'm a black belt at karate. I'm a black belt at taekwondo. I've played sports all through my life. I've played football for a national team when I was playing for under 15. I've played basketball, volleyball. So essentially from the age of 3 onwards, I've always been an athlete. I was born with asthma. My dad has asthma. My parent and my grandfather has asthma. But I overcame it like nothing. Even asthma couldn't stop me when I was young. But for the first time in my life, I felt like giving up. I felt like it was too much. Like the pressure was just going through my knees and I couldn't stand at that moment. Have you ever guys felt like this in your life? Like just walls are seeming to close on you. Right? Like everything is closing on you. You're trying to knock on doors, you're trying to open doors, but it's just not working your way. Like you try, the harder you try, the more deeper you keep sinking. Have you ever been in a situation like this? Raise your hands if you have. Raise your hands if you have. It's difficult. You know, you're breathing. With every breath you're taking, everything is just closing onto you. Slowly you're losing a right hand. Slowly you're losing a right leg. There are thoughts coming into your brain. Can you imagine? Like, I'm 19. I'm not supposed to be asking myself these questions. I was asking myself these questions like, have I been a good son ever? Or did I risk it too much? Or did I love my parents enough? Or God, just give me just one more hour, just give me one more hour. I want to go back home. And I want to just fight with my sister for once. You realize at that moments in your life that what really risk means to you. For me, risk is the word which defines who I am. So that day, I had to really reach down way inside me. Like, I don't know how deep I went. I really don't know how deep I went. So obviously after a point, we took the call. I spoke to my mother on the satellite phone. I told my mother, hi mom, I'm not going to be coming back home this time. Obviously I heard a cry on the other side of the phone. She fell. I think she had to be rushed to the hospital. My dad came and for the first time, my dad is the first paratrooper. So he's like really hardcore, I've never seen him like emotional all through my life. I've never seen my dad emotional. For the first time in my life, I could hear the fear in his voice on the phone. So he was telling me, don't give up. Don't just give up. Just because now things are not going your way. Just because you did not see this coming your way. Will you give up? Will you stop to exist? So in that moment I realized that I have to try. So obviously I kept my phone down. I'm there inside the tent. The Sherpas took the call. Weather's not getting cleared up anytime soon. So the Sherpas said that we are going to come back for you tomorrow. So just hang in there for this night. One more night, hang in there. So obviously I don't have the resources to hang in there. We burnt all our butane gas. I've almost torn the tent with my crampons. We don't have enough resources to spend another night there. My Sherpas leave me over there. Obviously, they have to save themselves. Only hoping that the weather would open up the next day. Only hoping. If it did not, then it wouldn't be a rescue operation. It would only be a recovery. Having stated this, at that particular moment in my head, all that I could think was, now what can motivate me to move forward? So I said, what are the resources that I have right now? So I said, I have breath between my two nostrils. I said, what is more that I have? I said, okay, I have my right hand working and I have my right leg working. So what do I do now? What do? I take that crampon from the left hand, from my left leg. Crampons are basically these spikes, really sharp spikes, which you put under your shoes so that you don't slip on the ice and you get a better grip. So I take out this left crampon as I'm lying down. I tear the tent, hold it in my hand, and I practically start crawling. I crawl. I'm pushing myself. I look up, it's just snow. So I'm like this, frontal portion down into the ground, into the snow, and I'm now crawling. So every time I'm reaching out and I'm pushing with my right leg upwards. So I'm reaching out and I'm pushing with my right leg. And I realize it's a couple of minutes, hours, I don't know how much time it passed by, but I really hadn't made any progress. So I'm still stuck over there. I can't move forward. I'm trying so hard. I'm trying to reach out to everything within me, for every goddamn last resource within me, to keep pushing forward, but I'm not able to. So what do I do now? So I try pushing myself every time. So I'm rolling now. So I'm rolling. And I do this, push and roll and push and roll and push and roll and push and roll and push and roll for the next 17 hours. After 17 hours, I reach this place, which is now the most technical aspect of this climb. So I'm standing over there, I'm lying down and I'm looking over this cliff. There are 2 ice cliffs which I have to go down. And I cannot do that without my hands. I cannot do that without my legs. So it's like I have to rappel down from this face down. So it's all steep. So now when I have to come down, I look, and I don't know what goes through my head. Right? In these moments, I really don't realize what is going through my head, but there was this moment when I looked over that ledge and I said it to myself, if this is going to be it, let this be. And I pushed myself over. And then I fell about 180 meters, came tumbling down. 180 meters, I just fell down straight into the snow. Obviously, I looked around, I saw I was still conscious. There was blood coming out from somewhere. The snow started turning red around me. And I passed out. And I think that is the moment when I died. For the next 6.5 hours, I am just dead. The next day in the morning, the Sherpas find my body, they pick it up, wrap it in a sleeping bag, and start getting it down. They note the time of death. They do not find a pulse. They do not find any brain activities. So declare me dead, wrap me in a sleeping bag, call back home, and tell them that this is it. We are bringing the body down. Now, me being me, obviously I'm standing here, so how can I die? So as they were getting me down, I think I'm like a cockroach. Little bit of warmth again. As soon as they put me down, it was the next day, the weather cleared up, and suddenly I came back to life. First thing which the Sherpas did, I was on a slope. They were tying me and slowly lowering me down from these slopes inside the sleeping bag. They thought that a ghost had come back. So they just left me, and I went again 50 meters down, straight down. Broke my ankle. But I was happy. I was okay with it. Everything seemed to have worked out. The whole point of me narrating this journey to you guys was take calculative risk. Risk is something which is kind of I think this is an audience I can say this. It's kind of a kink for me. I love doing this. The more I keep pushing myself, there is a certain kind of, so for me, risk is this mental peace state where I get absolutely mental peace. Like most people do a transaction in their lives which I don't understand how they do it. Like they're physically at rest but are mentally at unease. Now for me, it doesn't just matter. I cannot do this transaction at all. Even if I am even getting the slightest bit of mental ease, with extreme amount of physical unrest, I'm happy with it. I'm absolutely. So that is the kind of transaction which I like. This journey made me realize the importance of small, particular kind of planning. And with this experience under my belt, I now challenge myself. I say that I'm not going to stop here. So I'm going to get back to this mountain, but only after having climbed the mountain which is much more dangerous than this, which is much more higher than this, Mount Makalu. And Mount Makalu had a completely different set of stories waiting for me. Mount Makalu, I had to attempt this mountain 4 times in order to reach the summit. Mount Makalu is the world's 5th highest mountain. Now we are in 2013, and I'm taking another risk again. I'm 20 years old. Now imagine, after having been paralyzed, rescue, Sherpas get me down, I'm back in the hospital at Ames. My mother and father are looking at me. This is in 2012, after Cho Yu. 6 months down the road, I'm recovered. I've convinced the doctors how I'm ready to go back to the mountains yet over again. And they're like, dude, stop it. Don't do this anymore. Why? Why are you doing this? What drives you? And this question asked by my dad really decided the fate of my journey which I had taken forward. 4 years down the line, climbing the world's 5th highest mountain, failure after failure. 2013, we had to turn 60 meters short of the summit. 2014, we had to return about 100 meters short of the summit because we lost a team member, unfortunately. So to turn around, we understood that the mountain did not want us up there. Third time we went there was the Nepal earthquake, so the mountain was unstable. Now this is the 4th year, so this is 2016. Now I'm again back. Every time you go up on a mountain for 2 months, you have to realize all your resources which you're putting in there, everything gets spent. So if I have trained for 2 years, and if I've reached at a certain stage of physical fitness, after just 2 months of me really just performing of what I love doing in that altitude, my body is going to be finished. I lose on an average 15 to 20 kilos in a span of 60 days. I know what you women are thinking. We all must go to base camp. Great for weight loss. But just But you got to understand, so your body, after a certain point, when it's done eating your fat in your body, because your mind is not stopping, you do not stop, your mind starts to eat, or let's say break down the protein in your muscles for energy. Because you're not stopping, you're not giving it adequate amount of energy, you're not feeding it in. There's fat which is now over after 1 month of climbing. What does it feed on now? So the next 4 years, the question which my father asked, I was finding an answer for that. What drives you? What truly pushes you? And there were many moments in Makalu which came by, but on the 23rd of May, 2016, as we unfurled finally the national flag on the summit of Mount Makalu as the first Indian, and many more records which were set, the most important aspect yet was that my belief in risk was reinstalled yet again. So you have to keep in mind that even though we as humans dream big and dare to chase it sometimes, and even though we as humans want to have this whole aspect of taking on these bigger challenges, because that is what defines us as who we are, or who we want to be, or where we want to go, don't forget the minor aspects in life. Those are the ones which are going to lead you, or those are the saplings which you sow. So keep in mind of all the small details. Another challenge which we see over there on the mountains is it getting too long for you guys? Should I like, or is it okay? Is it getting too drapey? I'll go through the journey then quickly. Is it okay? People who feel it is getting drapey, raise your hands. Nobody, wow. Such a nice audience. Generally in schools, in colleges, people just have attention's going everywhere. So what I'm going to do next is, just to get your attention a little bit more, I'm going to show you another big risk involved while we're climbing mountains. So just to set your perspective of what a really long ice phase looks like, can we have the second wall climbing video, please? From Makalu.
Quite a hard climb, as you can see. Still have about 500 meters more straight going up from here, like this. Keep climbing.
So after having climbed Makalu on the 23rd of May, 2016, obviously, me being me, I had to go back to something which was incomplete. Mount Choyu, a mountain which had almost left me half paralyzed. So in less than 3 months, because I'd given my word to myself, I looked in the mirror straight into my eyes. And every night that picture would daunt me. Are you doing justice to your day? When are you going back to Choyu? When are you going to be there again? And a timer, 266 days, 265 days, 264 days. How many hours? 1,524 hours. 1,523 hours remaining. Everything, every small aspect was taken in account this time. And on the 6th of October, 2016 itself, I went back to Choyu and we were able to climb the very same mountain, which almost crippled us to a point of no return. But with the same kind of preparedness, with keeping attributes in mind, small details in mind, we were able to even conquer a mountain which literally crippled us to death at a certain point. And that is what is the power of an idea, is the power of dreams, is the power of risking and taking the next step forward. Obviously, there is going to be risk involved in whatever we do. My mother used to always ask this question to me. Why do you do it? It's so risky. And I would tell her, don't you feel scared of just letting me go out on Delhi streets? Like, I swear to God, when I wanted to go climb Everest, this was the reason to my mother. I told her, if you can allow me to go cross streets in Delhi, I think you can definitely go and allow me to climb Mount Everest. Because they are much more dangerous than Mount Everest itself. Driving in India is so scary. Electricity wiring in India is so scary. Like, people call me an adventurer. I find it funny the way people drive in Gurgaon. Like, they are they're the real adventurers. Like, the way people drive nowadays. Without seat belts, small details missing, but The day it happens, it's just, you know it's going to happen with them. So I feel scared for them. So what I am here to impart today with you is a view which drives me. I climb mountains for this view. This is what enables me to risk it for eating that biscuit, you know. But you've got to do it. Only the people who've gone out there in the open, who've gone into the uncharted territories, who've been that badass to look into the eyes of fear and tell them that no matter how long it takes, no matter how much failure you give me, that I am going to make it. That no matter how much resources do you have, that no matter where you come from or what life is hitting you with, anything, that I am going to make it. And not just, I'm going to sprint through it. No, I'm going to do it one step at a time. One step at a time. Each step is going to define how good of a mountaineer I am. So today, I leave you guys with the last summit video and then another finishing video. This is the video from, I think, the summit of Lhotse. No, this is the summit from the summit of
The summit winds are going up to almost 50 kilometers per hour.
50 kilometers.
Yeah, 13th.
Yeah.
No good.
No good.
Too strong.
Too strong. Yeah.
I don't think it's easy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible.
मेरा सिर्फ एक और एक लक्ष्य है, हर हाल में कंचनजंगा की चोटी पर पहुंचकर दिखाना.
It's great to be back here, man. I just can't even explain how happy I am to be here. And to be feeling that I'm lucky enough to be able to see this mountain twice. It's the 17th of May and we are ready to leave. Hopefully everything goes well. Praying to the mountain goddess. I hope everything goes well. A couple of hours we'll start our journey to the third highest mountain in the world. I was not so confident. It's still a long way. Let's see what happens. This is it. It's time to hustle and go up there.
नाम तेरे सामने है, मुकाम तेरे अंदर है, जीता है तूने जिसे आज, वो असली पर्वत तेरे अंदर है.
I feel like an emperor of this world.
On this very note, I would like to just leave you guys on a note which is how we mountaineers like to describe, I don't know, it's not a way of life, it's not just decision making or it's not risk management, but it's just doing things, right? So we often say it in mountaineering that life is too short. Life is way too short. So if you're not living on the edge, you're taking way too much of space on this planet. Make the most of the chances which are being given to you with every sunrise. Because there were a lot of people who were taken away this chance of seeing the sunrise today in the morning. So dream big and dare to chase it. Conquer the biggest fears of your life and find the Everest of your lives. Thank you so much for having me here today. I've had a great time speaking to you guys. I don't know how much I made sense, but I think we have 10 more minutes. So if you guys have any questions regarding any kind of, let's say, risk management or any kind of thing of how do we do it on the mountain or anything related to my personal life, anything, absolutely anything, we still have a little bit of time, so we can take, I think, a couple of questions. Is that okay? Yes? Yes? Okay, cool. So anybody with any questions? Anybody? Such a nice talk. Nobody has any questions. Yes, please, to the sir in the back. Can we have a mic to him, please?
So thanks a lot. It was very inspirational, whatever you talked about. And I'm going to ask a very serious question to you because
Yes.
we are cybersecurity professionals over here, and we do serious business when we go back to our organizations. And most of us are security leaders, experts in our domain. So very serious question. So do you find UFOs over there on mountains?
I
So
couldn't
do you
get that.
see UFOs in mountains?
Do I
Because we
see
have heard a lot of stories about UFOs.
No, so I'll be very dead honest and I'll answer you. No, we do not have UFOs in the mountains. We have Yetis.
Sorry? Yetis.
No, but unfortunately, no UFOs. But once you go way above the sky, as an explorer, I have been a great enthusiast of night sky photography. So I love doing night sky photography, and I can actually show you some crazy time lapses of in extreme high altitude, above 26,000 feet, above 27,000 feet, where the air gets really thin. Exposures even as long as 15 seconds give you such detailed picture of the cosmos, such detailed pictures of the Andromeda galaxy, which is right next to us, of the entire Milky Way stretching over this sky from one end to the other end of the horizon, the stomach of the Milky Way at times rising, and obviously a dozen of shooting stars every 15 minutes. So it's like a dance show of shooting stars and asteroids and comets just entering the Earth's atmosphere and going, because now you're suddenly above the clouds. The air is so thin, there's nothing getting into your eyes, no light coming into after the sun goes down into your eyes. So your eyes get adjusted and you can actually see a lot just with your naked eye. So you see, obviously, you can identify the satellites with their circular motion, and you see them go past and they're reflecting, they're not. But obviously, sometimes there are things which are hard to guess of what nature they could be of, or what origin nature they could be of. So I don't want to jump the guns or say that, oh, I have seen an alien or a spacecraft or a UFO. But yes, obviously, as a matter of fact, you do come across various things up there in the mountains, in the sky, once the cosmos is open to you. Not only just UFOs, I'm sure you'll see a lot of other crazier things just in the cosmos, which will intrigue you equally.
So Arjun, thanks a lot for clearing my, and I'm sure for many others, the delusions about UFO, which
Yes.
episodes like Ancient Aliens used to progress.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. Over here, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand what had caused the paralysis.
What caused the paralysis?
Is it because of missing out on some minor details, or and what learning you took out of it?
So obviously, the paralysis was a culmination of a lot of mistakes done over a period of time. After having come back, when you sit down and retrospect, obviously every unsuccessful expedition, as soon as you've turned around, like if this is the moment where I've turned around and now I'm just turned around, I've started taking this step and I'm going down the mountain, retrospection has already started. You're already starting to prepare for next year's journey or the next time you are going to be back on the mountain at that particular moment itself. So before you even hit the base camp from up on the mountain, you already realized where you'd gone wrong. So with me also the same things happened. I realized that the wind was there. I did not see the wind. There was a storm condition. I did not see that. It was all very evident, but I seemed to skip it all. I felt that I could conquer it all. I felt that I could contain all that risk. But at times, obviously, you misjudge it. That is what happened with me. Also, the situation kept getting worse. So once we reached Camp 4, Camp 3, we were stuck. So we couldn't come down. The visibility was so low that you couldn't even see your feet. So if you're standing out, it's so much of dense clouds which are there that you can't even see. The whiteout is so bad that you can't even see your feet. So that was there, so we couldn't move down. So we had to spend over there. We had a limited amount of butane gas, which each one of us had carried, which is required for boiling water, melting snow and boiling water, which is very important in high altitudes to be hydrated. So we were running out of hydration. The third aspect was we lost our oxygen bottles because of excessive snow. So it was almost snowing 13 to 14 inches in a single day. So when it's snowing 13 to 14 inches in a single day, it's this much. So over a span of 3 days, it was this much. So we tried digging our oxygen bottles, which we'd stocked the day we reached Camp 3. We'd lost them. We could not find them. They were buried deep inside the snow. And then 3 days of just sitting inside the tent, locked down because of weather, in minus 60, minus 70 degree temperature conditions, where if you take a cup of hot boiling water, you throw it in the air, it will not even touch the ground. It's that cold. It just disappears in the air. So what happens is when you don't give your body so much movement and when you're lying down inside a 6 foot by 4 foot tent with 2 more people right next to you, there's not much of movement. And you sleep on ice. The only insulation is the thin sheet of tent, your air mattress, and your thermal mattress. So a lot of it culminated into a medical term which is described by doctors as cerebral thrombosis. According to them, when I was admitted, they said that I have 11 clots in my brain, which led to the partial paralysis, which was stopping the blood flow in my body. And obviously, they put me on a lot of medicines and whatnot. And just to let you know, that was the last time I'd ever seen a doctor in my life. Because I realized that doctors don't know shit. Sorry, if there's a doctor in the house, I really respect you guys. Thank you for saving my life. But they don't know anything. This is the first thing which they bang up upon in your body, which is wrong and not natural. They'll say, "Jo bhi ho raha hai, wo isi wajah se ho raha hai. Whatever is happening in your body is because of this." That is all that doctors do. Whatever, if there's a simple anomaly also which is naturally occurred in your body, has got nothing to do with what you're suffering, but I don't blame them. They're trying to help us. We go to them, they help us with whatever best knowledge they have of the human body. So they put me on steroids and whatnot, and after all of that also I had 11 clots. I still have 11 clots in my brain. So now the doctors say that I was born with all of them. So what better way of understanding it is, I can tell you why it happened, that I live in a parallel universe of mine. So I have my way of understanding things. My head was too up in the high in the sky. The mountains had something different planned for me. They pulled me down. They scared me, but they scared me only enough for me to yet again come back to the mountains. And at the same point in time, learned my lesson, right? So at times, cosmos has its own ways of making you understand things and breaking your egos in your own ways, in your own very personalized ways. It knows, it absolutely knows. Like I have this concept, like if I want something in my life, nothing can stop me from getting there. And I do this. Like if I want something, and sometimes so strong that I'll say something in the morning and I'll have it by evening. And I manifest it. It is simple. I do not believe in anything else. So what I surround myself, I create my reality with the words. So I've been a believer in saying things 6 months before I do them, seeing something in the future, and literally sketching your way from there step by step by step to that place. So obviously, Choyu, I realized that there were a lot of mistakes and which had to be solved. I think it left me enough to come back wiser. I think I've answered your question on that. Yeah? Okay. Yes. We take last 2 questions. Okay. Sir in the back.
Hi.
Hello.
Whether it's a maybe silly doubt, whether are you carry your all logistics by you on your own, or somebody else will carry your logistics?
No. So it's absolutely divided. There are, in the Everest region, obviously you might be reading news nowadays that climbing Everest has almost become like a stroll in the park. It's not. Still, people, about 20, 25, 30 people die every year there. So it's not a stroll in the park, first of all. Regardless of the fact that there are a lot of people who are climbing 8,000-meter mountains every year, who are not supposed to be up there, and that's why the high amount of accidents which are happening. That is why we are risking more lives. That is now how it's supposed to be done, like the whole outdoor trend in India is building up. The kind of climbing which I do, which I believe in, it's we have our teams. We do not go in very classical expeditions like the tour operators and the big honchos which go. We have our own climbing bunch of really professional climbers, and most of them are purists who don't even use a Sherpa and don't even use the aid of supplemental oxygen. There are less than 8 people in the world who actually climb 8,000-meter mountains that way, who are alive and who are doing this right now. So there are not so many, that's why I know of these numbers. And what I do is that I climb equally with a Sherpa. So there is a lot of load. So I carry all my personal gear, he carries all his personal gear. We both require each other in cases of emergency only, when one of us falters, so we have a backup, right? Some people don't like this backup, they have a climbing partner. Unfortunately, from India, I don't have a climbing partner, so that's why I have my own Sherpa team who helps me guide through the mountains. If I had a climbing partner, I would have loved to be a purist, but most of our loads are carried by, I cannot talk about any other mountaineer, but I do believe in carrying and hauling up my loads. Beyond base camp, obviously till base camp, you have a large number of resources. There are helicopters, there are yaks, there are porters, Like for example, the next climb which I'm going to do is going to require to take us about 160 camels. It's going to require us to take about 500 porters and then about 20 Sherpas, 5 guides. So it's like a whole, Hindi में बोलते हैं ना कस्बा चल रहा है पूरा एक साथ, rock the kasbah. So something like that, you go through it and you realize that it's like a whole city which you have to plan, right? Like every day you are uprooting a whole city. रोज राशन टेंट लग रहा है, 5 किचन टेंट लग रहे हैं, 2 मेडिकल कैंप्स लग रहे हैं. And obviously, when you have more than 500, 600 people, and you're at the top of this pyramid, you have to take decisions, and you have to make sure each resources is planned every day. Everything is wrapped up. Everything next day it's unwounded. And obviously, when you have more than 500 people, on an average, one person falls sick once in a year. So if you check out the probability, almost all through those 4-5 months, which we are going to be climbing the next mountain which we are attempting, you're going to have one sick person every day. So you need to have medical resources. The mountain which you're going to be climbing next is going to be requiring, as I said, large amount of resources, and it's going to last for 4.5 months. So now you can imagine all the resources which require 4.5 months for 160 camels, even if they get sick. For 400 to 500 people who are porters, they'll have their own ration, stocking, everything, movement planned, and over that the Sherpas, and over that the climbers. So obviously we will have some sick people and has to be kept managing. All right. Any last question? Yes, sir. Okay, we'll take that one also after that. Yes. Yes. All right. Yes.
So who is going forward, or how you putting that rope?
Okay. Yes. So I'll answer both the questions. First one is quite an interesting. So I'll answer your second question first because that's a shorter one, and then I'll reach to the funds because that's like another 8,000 meter mountains, just raising the funds for this kind of thing. So climbing happens. So there's a lead climber always. You have to keep taking leads. So how climbing precisely happens is in climbing partners. So the first climber, everybody has to keep taking their roles as a lead climber, and everybody has to keep leading. So what does is there'll be 2 people. One will have one end of the rope, the other one will have the other end of the rope. They go forward. They keep fixing anchors so that if they fall, the other one can belay them. So that is how the first climber goes. He fixes it, and then the rest of the climbers follow. Then they will unwind all this rope which they've put. Then one climber will take the lead, and this climber who's led this much way, or 10 meters or 15 meters, now he will stay back and belay. So it's a step by step by step, because even with so much, we end up losing climbers. So we have expeditions which are done in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. At extreme altitudes, it's very difficult to take out rope. Again, once you fixed it, once you put it in there, very difficult to take it out. So all of these ropes which you see white colored, red color ropes, most of them are not supposed to be held properly. You should know which rope to hold, which is the new one which you fixed this year. Because if you hold the older previous expeditions ropes which are going all the way up to the summit from the last year who had fixed it, they can break. So you can't even put load on them. They're all brittle. The moment you hold them also, they come out. So maximum of the times which you see in the videos, which are buried deep inside the snow, those ropes are from the previous expeditions. You do not use them, you do not hold them, you cannot rely on them. The only ones which you will rely is a color this year, which you have set at base camp, that all the way through, this is the color rope which you're going to be holding. Or between camp 1 and camp 2, it's the green color rope which you have to hold. Or between camp 4 and summit, it's the white color rope which you have to hold. So like this, color-wise, is distributed, and you know which rope to hold and which rope not to hold. And it's every season you have to fix new ropes. So it's sometimes the lead Sherpas take advantage. At very technical places where, for example, the climbers are not able to open the route, sometimes the Sherpa will take the lead. So that is why equally, when we also summit a mountain, it's the equal contribution of a climber and a Sherpa who makes it successful. It's never, it's solid teamwork. And yes, the leader is always without a support in terms of, I'll have to explain it to you. So if you go up 10 meters from here, you'll put the first anchor on top of this, and then that is your center point. So I'm belaying you, the other end of the rope is on you. So if you fall down from there, that anchor is going to hold you. Then you go 10 more meters, then you put another anchor and you pass the rope through that. So the next time you fall, that anchor will hold you. Like this, you have to keep putting anchors after every 10 meters, 20 meters, depending on the gradient, depending on the slope, depending on rock, ice, or snow. The anchors keep changing. For ice, there are different anchors. For rock, there are different anchors. For snow, there are bigger anchors. So there are different kinds of anchors, different kinds of equipment, all which you have to carry. Slowly you'll reach a point where you will be carrying 10 ice anchors and you will see a big snow field. So you can't cross that because you don't have a snow anchor. So you'll have to go all the way back from camp 3 to base camp, pick up the snow anchor, get it up there, and now cross that path. So it's quite an ordeal, a lot of hard work, up and down. Acclimatization is a big process of this. Second part of the question was raising funds for this. Back in 2010, I'm not very great at studies. So I got a 48% in my 10th grade and I got a 52% in my 12th grade. My parents are highly disappointed in me otherwise because according to them, if you don't score marks, you're done. So after all of this, I really knew, even when I was 16, that I needed 30 lakh rupees, 35 lakh rupees while I was 16. My dad being a retired army officer, he told me very clearly that, boss, if you need 35 lakh rupees, I am not the person who you should be looking at. Like, I'm definitely not going to give you any money, especially when you're struggling through school. And his intentions are right. Like, he was like, कल अभी 52% में किस कॉलेज में एडमिशन मिलेगा, वहाँ भी पैसे देने पड़ेंगे तुम्हारा एडमिशन कराने के लिए, तो वहाँ तुम्हें कोई लेगा भी नहीं. I might as well spend that money in giving a fees because you are not going to get any scholarships, you are not going to get anything with 52%. So it was like, I'd rather spend that money over there. My mother was like, typical Indian mother, she's like, 45-40 हज़ार में तो मैं अपनी बेटी की सगाई शादी करवा दूंगी. That's the only thing which Indian parents can think. So like, I am not going to give you 40 lakh rupees, 35 lakh rupees, 30 lakh rupees for a 2-month-long excursion, according to them, to Mount Everest. So while I was barely able to make it through my sociology final exams and my economics final exams in my 11th grade, right? So I did not give them with a lot of options, but obviously that did not stop. So I just started talking. I started sharing my idea. It was a very new idea, the idea of a 16-year-old climbing Everest. So back 8 years ago, in 9 years ago, almost 2009, December, I spoke, I wrote out a Facebook message and I spoke to a couple of journalists through school, and I realized way before even crowdfunding existed, there were about more than 24,000 people from all across India who were suddenly connecting to this idea of a 16-year-old Indian trying to climb the world's highest mountain. And that's the beautiful thing about an idea, right? Like, it lives and it travels beyond your own physical self. Like, no matter if you might not last, but this idea will stay there out forever. So there were about more than 24,000 people, as humble as a small electrician living in a small house with his mother and with his wife who's teaching in a government school in one room. In one room, I went to their house, I saw it. In one room, the largest contribution, I think, according to me, was by these people. They gave me 1,500 rupees, 500, 500, 500. An electrician, a government school teacher, and a retired mother, old mother who's receiving pension because her husband is not there. They gave away 500, 500, 500 rupees. And like this, there were 24,000 Indians, more than 24,000 Indians, way before even crowdfunding existed. This is the magic of India. By word of mouth, we had people sending us money orders, people trusting us. And obviously I was falling short of money in the end. And then finally my dad was like, पूरा देश मेरे बेटे को पैसे दे रहा है, मैं क्यों नहीं दे सकता? And like finally in the end, he was like, 6 lakh rupees he gave me from his end. And I was off on the wings of hope. The kind of mountains which I want to climb now are costing much more expensive. Now the hunger within me is much more. So now it's just not 30 lakh rupees a year or 40 lakh rupees a year, which I need just for spending on the mountain, which is just going to take me to the top and get me back. But apart from that, training, and now I'm not okay with just climbing one 8,000 meter mountain a year. I want to climb 3 of them in a year because I know I can do it, and I'm doing it. We're training for it. The training has gone up, so the expenses go up. Mountaineering is officially, after, let's say, being an astronaut, if you count that as a hobby, mountaineering is the most expensive sport to do in your life. K2 is the next challenge. It's going to, just the logistics of K2 is coming out somewhere around, like we have to raise, I know, on an average weekly basis, $120,000. So that is the average, because just the logistics for a mountain like K2, just for an Indian, because obviously it's not ever been climbed by an Indian, and it's going to be the first ascent, and we can't climb K2 via Pakistan, so I have to go and take this long journey. It's costing me $650,000 just for the logistics. This is not including guides, my expenses, permits. This is just the logistics. मतलब इंसान जितना लगेगा उसमें $650,000. And now you guys know how difficult it is even with a degree from MIT tomorrow. You know, to raise 6 lakh, like once in a life, I've seen Harvard students raise money, $130,000, $150,000, without even a college education degree. I am certain that I'm going to make it. I am certain that I'm going to go climb this mountain. There is nothing which can stop me. The only thing which can stop me is myself. Nothing else in this world. I know. Like we are reaching our goals, we're reaching our targets. It's absolutely insane. Like we could probably fund 2 or 3 startups in this much amount of money. Like we have enough. This is just the logistics. So the whole budget is going over just for one expedition for 4 months is going over $1.4 million. So obviously now we've generated a lot of content for sponsors. We do other kind of activities. I run my own training programs for various schools, colleges, institutions. I speak for a living as I'm doing with you guys. And yeah, I invest everything back. I am not a guy with a lot of fancy resources or frills in my life. I don't like all of that. So I still have the same shirts which I used to wear when I was 16, 17. My size has not changed so much. I'm not a big fan of malls and all of this horse cars and Gurgaon and all of this. So I live in Noida, so I'm pretty chill. Like I don't have expenses. I eat 2 crates of anda in a week. That is my biggest kharcha. I think eating two crates of eggs. That is it. So all my resources of all my life, whatever I earn, even a single penny, everything is always put back into fueling this desire and fueling this hunger which is from within of being on top of all of these mountains. I think we're running out of time. They're telling me to, now they're going to practically throw me out. So thank you so much for hearing me so patiently. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I hope I did not stretch so long, and I hope I did not bore you guys. Dream big and dare to chase it. Thank you.
Arjun, thank you so much. I think I speak for everyone here when I say he's a true inspiration, and listening to your story and your journey was really inspiring. We have a small token of appreciation for you, so I'd like to request Michele Gottlieb, Director, Marketing, APJ, to please come up and present Arjun with that memento.
Thank you.